Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I've got my trusty companion alongside me, our eviction expert up in Edmonton, Don. How are you doing tonight?
Fantastic. And you?
I'm doing great, Don. Thanks for joining me as always. Tonight's show, if you guys read the headlines or looked at the thumbnail, we're going to do another walkthrough of a case RTDRS. This one is probably, I'd say, and Don might correct me on this, the most common cause, probably besides damages and unpaid rent, is someone exiting a fixed lease early termination of a fixed lease.
It happens a lot, yes.
Does that a lot. Perfect. Yeah. So we'll dive in this case. Yeah, I think it's really textbook. We'll look at the outcome. We'll see what went right, what went wrong, and just take some key takeaways from it and do some lessons learned as we kind of do some digging. While we wait for some people to get queued up here, we got Teresa on the show. Hey, Teresa, thanks for tuning in. Really, really appreciate it. I'll say hello to you. Yeah, well, I was gonna say, how is the market and stuff going on right now? I'm talking to a few people down here in Calgary, and our vacancies are down quite a bit. I've heard in certain parts of the city, there's basically nothing in the area, so rents are on the rise right now. And is that the same for you guys up in Edmonton?
Absolutely, yep. It's rising. There's a lot more demand and a lot less product available as people are selling. Hot market for selling. So
yeah, so I mean, like if you folks are doing renewals right now, certainly shop around, compare your rates out there, because the rents are going up, and it's just with the influx of, well, one is super low inventory. I know, Don, we're talking about this off air before the show about people trying to sell, right? So there's a bit of an exodus from landlording right now. Mm-hmm. So that's probably putting a pinch in supply on the rental side.
That's the big thing. Yep.
Yeah. What is the general wait time right now at RTDRS? What's our general lead time?
It's running pretty close to 4 weeks. Pretty steady. We're booking for hearings that we booked today. We're for around the 25th of June. So.
Okay, so that solid month lead time, 25th of June. Okay, and again, that's from submission of your RTDRS case today to your actual hearing date. So
that's right.
Yeah. Okay.
The only ones that are faster if there's violence, somebody took a swing at you or broke the window I had one where a guy shot or threw a wrench through the window.
Yeah,
we got it in less than a week. So.
Right, and they normally do that. So folks, if you are in an unfortunate predicament like that, they do expedite those type of cases, which is a good thing. So I mean, that's good on them. So, all right, well, let's pull up this case. This one was fun. I actually enjoyed this read. It was good, and it was actually a really good read. So, Don, I've gone through and I've highlighted what I thought was important. I know you've made some notes as well. We'll kind of compare and contrast as we go through. And I'll let you explain the most important parts kind of as they come up. You can just jump in there. And then I'll just ask questions for clarity so us common folks can keep up with you. Much wiser folks in the world of evictions. All right, let's get into it. So in this case, the tenant is seeking for termination of a fixed term agreement and therefore end their liability for rent at the rental premise they have already vacated. So they've moved out. They're still on lease for months later. I don't know the exact number here. We can get into it in a bit here. And they are trying to terminate that and trying to get money back because they're probably paying double rent. They've moved somewhere else paying rent and they still pay rent to the place they've left early. So let's take a look here. On April 22nd, 2021, the tenants entered into an agreement. It's for a newly constructed apartment in Calgary. It's got a modern industrial style. This will be kind of important later on. The term was from July 1st, 2021 to the end of June 2022. The rent was $1,870 per month and $150 per month for underground parking. The tenants are a couple with an infant daughter. They're living out in Ontario when they agreed to lease the premise. Actually, you know what? I did highlight some more, but I kind of want to go through this part because this is still pretty good, important painting the picture. A virtual tour of the rental premises was conducted. The landlord's agent walked around the premise with a tablet showing the premise to the tenants through Skype or some other virtual meeting. Okay, so it's a video call. That's fine. Shortly after the tenancy began, and they started this again July 1st, the tenants realized they had made a mistake. They did not like their new home for several reasons. Primary reason was that another high-rise apartment was being constructed immediately next door, causing noise that disturbed their daughter's sleep. There was also dust. The daughter apparently developed an allergic reaction to the dust. Based on the photos provided by the tenants, it appears to me that the neighboring construction project is near completion. The tenants also claimed they were not aware the rental premise had walls of exposed concrete. I'm a little confused in this part. They also claimed they were not aware that the corridor was not enclosed and therefore would provide no shelter from the cold in the winter. So, like, is this like a bunch of townhouses that have like a sheltered walkway between them or something?
No,
like
it's like an apartment. There's one just down the block from me here, actually. I call it an inside-outside apartment. So the building, the suites are above each other, of course, and then the center or the common area is just actually is open air, and there's a walkway, and then there's most of them have a space between the two walkways that you can look down into the area down below, and so yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Hey, Christine, thanks for popping in. As more people are joining, that's awesome. Feel free to ask questions at any point in the show. We see them in the chat. We will queue them up as we put them into the conversation. So we'll continue on here. Okay, yeah. So yeah, they're not aware of exposed walls. Okay, that's fair. And they had some secondary concerns as well. One, there's no air conditioning. It was uncomfortably warm in the summer, particularly during the heat wave. There were some incidents of other tenants improperly parking in their assigned parking space, though the landlord did address this issue. I should add in right now on a side note, I have 2 tablets babysitting my kids as my wife is out at her slow pitch game. So we may be interrupted, but hopefully we'll get a smooth show here, but no promises.
It's all good.
It's all good. Yeah, I forgot to get that out there. So, okay. So, the rent was high. We'll kind of skip through this stuff, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Tenants asked the landlord to end the tenancy agreement, but the landlord did not agree. The landlord did work with the tenants to find other solutions. They offered the tenants the opportunity to, advocating here already. All right. The landlord offered the tenants the opportunity to move to another rental premise on the other side of the building away from the neighboring construction project. The landlord also suggested subleasing or finding new tenants who could be assigned to the lease. This might be a bit of a shorter show tonight, folks. Anyways, the tenants vacated October 31st. So remember, this was a 1-year lease agreement in the middle of the summer from July 1st to the 2021 to the end of June 2022. So they didn't even really make it halfway through. So there's lots of rent still owing going on. Since the tenants have vacated, the landlord had advertised a rental premise and showed the premise to prospective tenants. The landlord agent testified that they are prioritizing showing the subject rental premise to any interest prospective tenants, but so far they've not been unable to find tenants. So where do you want to jump in on this? Like what's been done correctly so far?
Well, everything's been done correctly by the landlord. He's trying to help them. They're trying to find another renter. They want to mitigate their losses as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it does, the tenants and the tenants are doing it right too. They're not skipping out. We have that lots where the tenants just disappear, and what's the landlord going to do? And you can't find them or whatever. So they're being responsible tenants as well. You got to give them kudos for that. But the landlord's doing everything he can to help them. He was upfront and at the beginning, knowing that they were from another province, could be considered other countries sometimes here, but another province, and that went special to show them the building. And in all fairness, you're looking at this on a screen and you don't always remember everything you see. So maybe they didn't see or didn't remember seeing what type of building it was. So far so good. The tenants are looking for termination of the agreement because, well, look at this.
Yeah.
Isn't that a handsome? That's a very handsome co-host. Oh,
There you go.
good job. Anyway, they want to terminate the tenancy because it's a huge financial hardship. They have a new place and they have this place. They're paying rent on two. I know all about that. I've had several places that were renting and several mortgages to pay. So I understand that stress.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that is exactly it, right? That's the kind of the premise. So let's roll down into the laws and the analysis section here. So Section 37 of the RTA allows the tenant to file a RTDRS to terminate a tenancy if the landlord has breached the tenancy agreement or contravened the RTA, and the breach or contravention is of such significance that the tenancy should be terminated. Oh, yes. Shh, quiet. Section 16 of the RTA sets out 3 landlord covenants that form part of every tenancy agreement. So it's basically, these are the requirements that you have in your lease agreement here in Alberta under the RTA. 1, or A, that the premise will be available for occupation by the tenant at the beginning of the tenancy. That was done. That subject to Section 23, neither the landlord nor person having a claim to the premise under the landlord will in any significant manner disturb the tenant's possession or peaceful enjoyment of other premises. So I'm gonna re-explain this in English, and Don, correct me if I've gone astray. This basically is saying the landlord or another, I'll touch that, or another tenant in the building cannot disturb the tenant's possession and peaceful enjoyment of the premise.
Yeah. So that's if the tenant next door is having parties all the time, or then whatever other things that can be of concern.
Yeah, totally. Okay, fantastic. So, and then they go, under Section 16, there's a, no, we just read that. Sorry. Yeah. And then the last C, that's the part I'm missing here. The premise meets minimum housing meets the minimum standards for housing premises under the Public Health and Safe Health Act.
Commonly known as the Minimum Housing Standards Act.
Brilliant. Okay, so it could be argued that noise and dust disturbs peaceful enjoyment. So they talk about that. He says, in any event, though, I'm going to go right to the end, whatever dust and noise was emanating from a neighboring construction site is beyond the landlord's control. Hey, go be quiet. Yeah, go find your brother. And my tablet babysitting are failing me right now. But anyways, we shall continue. The fact that the rental premise did not. Oh, yeah, I am kind of skipping through here.
Exactly. Landlord has no control over that, and they offer the tenants an air purifier to help with the dust, which they certainly didn't have to do.
No, that's above and beyond. So I mean, that's actually good to see. Yeah, and that's exactly as they noted here. When a tenant, and I like this part, when a tenant rents a premises, they have to accept the neighborhood as it is. The fact that they did not actively investigate the neighborhood for any of its patent shortcomings is not of the landlord's fault. Great. And it's also not the landlord's responsibility to highlight all the potential negative aspects of a rental property. Though, that's right. I agree with that, but I'd actually say that it's in your interest to do this. Not saying I wouldn't present it as a negative, but I would, because this is part of filtering. So you qualify in your due diligence stage. You want to qualify really good tenants to move in your property, because therefore, if they are getting what they're expecting, they're going to be happy. You're going to have less bumps down the road during the length of that tenancy. So, if the tenants are asking certain questions during that viewing or during your initial phone call or whatever that initial contact is, not that I would position them as negatives. I would say, I'd word it a bit differently, that as best fits and maybe not the best fit for, if, say, for example, it's a 1-bedroom versus a house for a family or whatever, right? I mean, you listen to the tenant's needs and then you just propose accordingly. So, anyways,
Well, I think the contention that there is a new building next door, that could have been told to them that they're building a new high rise next to me, and but they're just about done. It should it shouldn't affect you too much, at least hopefully.
yeah. Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if, and thanks, Christine, for confirming if my two boys were chatting away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, upgrade to iPads. Well, they have Amazon kid tablets. Yeah, those would be expensive babysitters. But so let's continue on here. Yeah, so I just say like I totally agree. Obviously, it's not our. By no means should it be. I lost my spot now.
Goes on to say, the fact that the rental premises did not have air conditioning is not an apparent breach of the tenancy agreement. Is also not apparently a contravention of the RTA. Alberta's minimum housing standards say nothing about air conditioning, only adequate heating is required, which makes sense.
Totally. AC is kind of a luxury, even though, honestly, I'd go over the last, I'm born and raised from Alberta here in Calgary. I'd say over the last 5-7 years, it's progressively gotten warmer every summer. We get a longer and longer little heat spell. But as you said, Don, it's only heating is a requirement. So important details. The tenants mentioned that after they moved to Calgary that they realized they're paying high rent and they could have gotten more affordable rent elsewhere. This is irrelevant. Whatever amount of rent was agreed to by the landlord tenant, that is what is agreed to. So basically, the contract is the contract. Love it. Yeah. Okay. There was a part where an armed intruder entered the building, which is unfortunate and understandable. And I can understand, he said, I can sympathize or understand that other tenants would have been rattled. However, the tenants have not shown how the intrusion was a breach or contravention on the landlord's part. So I thought this was really interesting, right? So I guess I'm getting really detailed here. Where could this have gone the other way? So in this case, they said, the landlord did not do anything to have caused this or to allow this to happen more freely. Mm-hmm. So what would have been a flip side on this, Don? Have you seen something before that we would be accountable if this action happened?
If a apartment building, say the landlord wouldn't fix the outdoor locks, they were broken or whatever, and wouldn't fix them, so the intruders could come in, or people wanting to sleep in the hallways could come in, that sort of thing. That would reflect negatively on the landlord. In this case, excuse me. Oh,
bless you.
My grandkids left me a great present, some sort of cold and cough. Some of the things they leave are much better than others. But anyway, I apologize for that. So there's nothing that the landlord could have done to have stopped that. There was nothing. From what I understand, for what just reading, the feel from this is that it was in a reasonably good area. I think it said it was actually in a newly constructed industrial style. Okay, so excuse me. So the infection is that there wasn't a bad area. It was a reasonable area. So something can happen anywhere. We just got that in Texas. That's a quiet town. Nothing happens there, and we've got this tragedy. So anything can happen anywhere.
Dang! And I thought I've been reading this text on the screen. My apologies. I have not. Okay. I thought I had this on the screen.
You're busy.
Time. Yeah, maybe. Okay. So all right, good enough. Yeah, and then the next part, the tenant mentions financial hardship as they are forced to continue paying rent for a premise they no longer occupy. I can empathize, but I cannot make decisions and issue an order strictly based on the basis of empathy. Perfect, as we would expect. Okay, so they had this was a hearing on November 26th, 2021. As they wrap up, the tenant's still trying to continue the obligation to mitigate losses by trying to find a new tenant. as soon as possible. I would also encourage the tenants to do so. Okay, that's just wrapping up the final notes. So they had first case hearing. We'll quickly recap the timeline. Tenants signed the lease April, move in July 1st. It's a 1-year lease from July 1st of 2021 to end of June 2022. They move out in October of some time. They have a hearing date in November, end of November, here in 26th. And now in February 28th, they've had a follow-up hearing. So as of February 28th, the rental premises still remains unrented. So this tenant has still been on the hook for rent from, from November, December, January, February. So that's four months. And actually, if they moved out halfway through October, half of October as well. So this tenant has been paying 4.5 months additional rent. They're paying double rent, which is obviously that's a lot of money. Here's the key kind of takeaways. The landlord is making reasonable efforts to show the subject rental premises. That landlord continues to offer new tenants a discounted of 50% off rent for the first 3 months and 6 months of free parking. And despite those efforts, let's say November, December, and January have been very slow months, which have been very few prospective tenants interested in a 2-bedroom unit. The tenants didn't offer any evidence or argument to refute the landlord submissions. In fact, they confirmed they also had difficulty trying to find a new tenant for the subject suite because they were also trying to sublease. So here's our decision in green. Because the landlord had not breached the tenancy agreement nor contravened the Residential Tenancy Act, and because the evidence does not suggest that the landlord has failed to make reasonable mitigation efforts, the tenant's application to terminate the tenancy is dismissed. So they're on the hook for those nearly half of a tenancy in terms of rent. So I guess Don, so I mean, like you said, the biggest takeaway for sure here is the landlord taking that immediate action, right? Trying to find and answer solutions. They may not be perfect solutions, but I think that constant effort of actually going through that process and helping out was a big deal.
Yeah, they were consistent. They were firm, but I just.
I'm just gonna mute Don while he's replacing his lung. Are you back?
I'm back. The landlord was understanding but firm, so he tried to help him out the best he can, but looking after his business, and that's important for all of us, is to look after our business, to make sure that we're looking after our bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
And this interim decision, I can only imagine what occurred during that hearing, but there must have been some agreement, and I imagine it was prompted by the adjudicator for them to find to use this to have some time to try and get the place rented, and the tenant to try and help along as well. Maybe they can help out with finding prospective tenants. So that's important. Not all adjudicators would have done that, but I see that as being a good, a really good move on the adjudicator's part in order to find a way to amicably find a solution, have them find a solution, which is really where it should stem from.
Absolutely.
And another important thing is just before the decision, it says the tenants did not offer any evidence or argument to refute the landlord's submissions. In fact, they confirmed that they also had difficulty trying to find a new tenant for the subject suite. So these are good tenants. This isn't something that this isn't they didn't take this lightly and try to get away with anything. So they are certainly, being good tenants means you get have to pay extra. The same as being a good landlord sometimes means you got to pay extra.
And the other thing too, Don, to add in on that, like going back to reasonable efforts here. So they're showing the property. It's been advertised the entire time. I'm just gonna let you mute there while you catch your voice. When you're done, you can unmute yourself. And and they discounted their rent, right? Discounted the rent for the first 3 months. A pro tip on the side fact, if you do decide, if you guys are in a position where it is tough times, like we get into the fall or Christmas time in the winter, they certainly are slower months. If you do decide to discount, you can backload it on your lease. So the kind of the pro tip there is you don't give that discount up front. You give that same discount on the last 3 months of your 12-month lease, assuming it's a 1-year lease. And then there's incentive for that tenant to see through the completion of your term. Mm-hmm. But you can still market a discount off of 3-month discount. You just say it's actually backloaded on the end, and 6 months of free parking. And they said they had very few prospective tenants. And actually, I didn't highlight this part, but I did read it somewhere. The landlord had 7 vacancies throughout these months, so including the prospective tenants. Plus, they also prioritize prospective tenants unit to help get them out. Like they're trying to make the best of the situation, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no, it's wonderful. This is a feel good story from all sides. The adjudicator handled it right. The landlord took things seriously and came prepared to the hearing to defend his side. The tenants were trying to do the right thing. They may have been able to have a different strategy to mitigate their losses, but all in all, it was feel good all around.
Good to get muted again. I want to highlight something really cool here that this is why I love having a landlord community. I love having other like-minded folks that love the business, that share great tips. So I posted back on Alberta Landlord Community.ca in our private group over there. By the way, folks, if you want, you're more than welcome to come join over there. Some cases that we're going to talk about, and because actually Don and I did the show a few weeks ago, but after all the questions, we could only go through 1 or 2 of the cases. I couldn't remember. Oh, only 1 case. So this is the one we just talked about right here. Anyways, Mike Everett, like just phenomenal information he's been sharing. He talked about, where was it? Right here. Oh, he talked about Crackle and Cracknell, if I'm saying it right, and for Gil. Anyways, Mike's been through through evictions on his own. He took note of the precedent cases. So the hearing officer, the TDO officer, referred to these cases. So Mike took it upon himself to go and research these cases, as they're kind of like the precedent ones that get referred to apparently quite often. So it's if you have to go through the process, or perhaps Don, if you hear of a case that gets referred to often, perhaps let us know that we can make note of it, so we're aware of that precedence and how it was set. So
sure.
Yeah. So anyways, I thought it was a great pro tip. So thanks Mike for that. If you're watching the show, that's a shout out to you. So yeah. Other than that, folks, do we have any questions here? We're kind of halfway through the show now. We can pivot and take a couple questions off of the group. Again, right now, I see a lot of people asking about rents. We can talk about rents right now. I know they're definitely on the rise. Or maybe we end it early and let you guys get back to some playoff hockey. We're doing good, living through adversity. We'll come back here next game tomorrow for the Flames, for you Flames fans out there. I'm being pragmatic because I don't want to hurt the Oilers' feelings. That's why I didn't wear my jersey. I just kept it to a T-shirt, so I put my jersey away for tonight because it's a non-game night. But anyways, here we go. Yeah. So, any other? Again, I know Don, you mentioned at the top of the show there that you've been pretty busy right now. I know I talked to another eviction expert today down here in Calgary, and super busy right now as well. So.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate we're busy, but we have to help as many people as we can.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're here to do, to help.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Well, folks, maybe we'll wrap it up a bit earlier. Don, how can people get a hold of you if they need eviction services up in the Edmonton area?
Certainly, they can go on my website, edmontoneviction My email is don@edmontonevictionservices.com. And you can call me most anytime. My cell phone is our business phone, 780-974-8427. Any of those methods. I don't appreciate rocks through the window, but certainly, any other way of contacting me is good. I'm here to help.
Perfect.
And even if it's not a non-eviction item, just a landlording item. I've been in the business quite some time. I've quite a few units of my own, and used to have a property management company for quite a few years, and we've seen a lot of strange things, different than this business.
Yeah, for sure. Christine's saying out early, share some more info. You guys gotta give us some questions here. I didn't think we'd go through the content so fast. It took us forever to do the last case in the last show. One thing I'll show up quickly here for you guys, if you guys do not know this. Recently we just got a new promo set up at the front lobby. They completely redid their membership, and therefore a new membership means a new discount. And so guys, if you guys want, we have a unique promo code that's exclusively ours. It's ABLL. That gets you guys a $15 credit right off with your annual membership, 20 free lease reports to the credit bureau. I think that's pretty cool. So that right there is your guys' ability to report every month that payment on time and help build your tenants credit report through both the Landlord Credit Bureau and Equifax. On top of that, if they don't pay rent on time, it's a two-edged sword. They will be adversely hurt and it'll affect their credit score. So it's a very powerful tool. It's a great filter tool you should be using in your due diligence. Happy to explain how that works. They've got $10 credit checks. And then if you do have to report lost rent, this is probably the other really powerful tool that is really, really a new tool in the last few years for us landlords, is now we can actually put a trade line on a credit score, just like a car dealership, just like a bank. If someone's defaulted, you can do the same thing as a landlord for missed rents and damages. Caveat with the damages, it has to have gone through a hearing. You have to have a judgment. You can't just arbitrarily put numbers in there. It has to be stuff that's validated by a third party, because damages are, in fact, they are for sure perceived as subjective until they're qualified going through the legal process. But if there's any rents missing, you can definitely hit those right away. And it's great. You don't have to pay that fee once too. So if there's damages over a period of 3 to 4 months, you can keep adding on that same trade line. Okay. So question came in for you, Don. I always love these questions. A live one. Let's kind of help someone out here. Facebook user. I'll see if I can track down the name, if I can multitask well here. Hey, Don, are you able to give any indication on what your service costs are, roughly some of the services you offer? Ooh, a tough question. I'm going to let you handle that one.
Yeah, certainly. We work on a flat rate system for both evictions and for damage claims. We do quite a few damage claims. There's a lot more work, but the flat rate currently, if we can keep costs in line, as in gas and all those kind of things, fuel, because we do go out and serve and we're on the road for a month. So currently we do charge $7.95 plus GST for an eviction. And that takes us right from the beginning. You give me your stuff, and we make the application, and we get the notice of hearing package. We put it together, the various parts, and we serve the tenants, and we take over communication then with the tenant if we can. If they want to holler or cry, we can you can send them to us, and we'll handle that. Then we represent you at the hearing. You can certainly be there. It's all by phone still for foreseeable future anyway. And then we end up with the court order and a judgment, and we get that filed at Queen's Bench and serve that file copy to the tenant so that the circle is complete. And then we work with you to get the rest done. if there's peripheral things that need to be included, maybe there's a Cinderella order where they have to make payments and they miss a payment, you give me a call and I get the notice of default served. That's part of the package. We have discounts with um, locksmiths and with the bailiff, yeah, and so we would order them for you. Their costs would be extra, but we would order them for you, and just make sure that the job is done. Um, through whatever way we can help. So that's including the package. If everything gets done, that's great. Excuse me.
Poor Don. He's gotten gifts from his grandchildren that are still tickling his nose. I'm going to unmute you there, Don. One thing I want to highlight too is you guys put quite a bit of time in this. I know we've talked offline lots about this. What is a typical number of phone calls and time spent to build a case when you first get contacted by a landlord who has trouble?
Well, yeah, it depends on the landlord. If you're really super organized, we can usually get it done with maybe a half a dozen inquiries or calls. And the super organized ones are always want to be on top of you too, to make sure you're doing your side right. And so they're phoning and find out where we are and all that stuff. And that's all great. It's all part of the thing. Most landlords aren't, especially if you only got 1 or 2 or 3 units. They're not organized. They don't know what a ledger is, and so on and so forth. So it can be 30, 40, 50 tries. We've had some landlords just didn't understand that we needed information. They thought we could just go and kick them out. But that's quite worked that way. But and then they're digging up stuff and finding things for us. So it can be extensive. We try to get it in absolutely as fast as we can, so we can get a hearing date as quickly as we can. So then, because we can always add evidence up to 24 hours before the hearing. We don't like to do that, but leave it that late. My philosophy is that the tenant should know as soon as we've got all the ducks in a row. They should know that we're headed in this direction, so they can either fight or move or whatever. And this kind of action is just kind of like a death. You got to go through the emotions. You get angry, and then you feel bad, and then it all levels out, and you're going to, be more level-headed and clearer thinking. So the more time they have to go through that process, the better, and you get a much better ending. And so, and most of the time, I'm not going to say most of the time, percentage of the time, and I'm not sure what that is now, is at this point is eviction, but there is a good percentage of people who really do want to stay, and they've been dealt a bad card for whatever reason, and through some help by us, we can help out, offering suggestions or whatever to get them thinking in a way that they don't lose the roof over their head. There's a lot of people are good tenants; they're just in a bad situation, and if there's a way of keeping them going, get a Cinderella order or whatever. It's good for everybody.
Well, so let's explain that. So first, that question came from a favorite Oiler fan up in Edmonton, Daryl. So Daryl, thanks for asking that question.
Hey, Daryl.
So right on. What is a Cinderella order, and how does that differ from perhaps a regular order?
Yeah, Cinderella order is just an order with a ability for the tenant to pay off their debt. Help with RTDRS when the tenant is left. Yes, we can do that.
We'll do that one next. Sorry, I'm
okay, yeah.
up.
So distraction. What it would be we would create an order. If everything lined up good, right? The tenant's got an income now, and they might not have before. Yada yada. You have the ability to pay. So we would first and foremost make sure that all the rent moving forward is paid in full and on time. Then we would take the arrears and put them over a number of months or whatever is appropriate and fits the budget of the tenant. It's important. They got to have the ability to pay without not having milk for the kids and gas for the car to get to work.
So basically, if I recap the Don, you're setting up like a payment plan that the tenant has agreed to, that they're capable of paying, and basically allow themselves making good on the debts owed.
Yeah, and the best part is that it's in the court order. So if they miss a payment, dollar short, day late, then we serve them with what's called a notice of default, because this is an order. They defaulted against the order, and in the order it would also say how much time from the date we pin that to their door or hand it to them for them to leave. And it can be as little as 2 days. If there's young children, it could probably be 7 days. But they know that up front, and it's handled. They understand the severity of the situation, and we make sure. I try to make sure before, if we can, if we talked about it before, or the adjudicator and I both will make sure they understand that they can't be making promises they can't keep. So it's gotta be able to be worked. Otherwise, it's a waste of energy.
Yeah, no, totally. So let's pivot over. We got 2 more questions here. One came in from Jason. Actually, we'll take Jason's quickly because I think Christine's is a little bit more in depth. Christine, can you add some information? So she's asking help with RTDRS where the tenants have left.
Yeah, and that's coming into a damage claim then.
Into a damage claim. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll flip back over to Jason's question. Jason, thanks for tuning in the show, by the way. Jason, are the fees awarded by the RTDRS capped? Is there a maximum amount that you can claim at RTDRS?
Yes, the RTDRS was set up first off to alleviate the problem with Queen's Bench and provincial court, where it was getting to be like 3 months from application to hearing, because you're inundated with all his landlord-tenant problems. And so they set up the RTDRS. Now, the second part of that was to make sure it was affordable for both landlords and tenants, because it's for both sides, and it's affordable. And so that part of that was capping the fees that or the costs, court costs they would call it. And so it's capped at $225, and that's $75 filing fee. The costs that's included in our price too. $75 filing fee, and there's a $75 agent fee for you hiring me, and then there's costs for serving at $50 and $25 for office supplies and that sort of thing, photocopying and whatever. So that's capped at $225. Now I've had owners take the difference between what I've charged them and what the $225 that is awarded, and charge that against the security deposit. I think that if the tenant went to court to get that money back, you would probably here we go. They would probably get that turned back. But if they don't argue, then you've got that money back. And that's exactly right.
Yeah, so I just kind of cheated. I got it right from the horse's mouth there. That came from their first annual RTDRS report.
Yeah,
is the purpose of the RTDRS, as you aptly put. Okay, awesome. Okay, so here Christine's dug in some details for us. So let's tie into this one. So she says tenant has left, didn't pay last month's rent. There's debt or outstanding balance on the utilities. Extra utilities, yard work cleanup, carpets, etc. So some damages, some cleanup, so not clean property.
Yeah, we do lots of those.
I don't know where he works. No forwarding address. I hope that's my comment.
There's various ways. There's various ways to find them. If you communicated with them or he paid you by email transfer. We can, if you got email address, we can serve them by email. It's COVID. That's a blessing from COVID. Everything's got good things and bad things. That was a good thing from COVID. And through email. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we'll get them.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. I wanted to say something else. I can't remember now, but she's okay. You're hired. I'll send you some information. Smiley face.
Perfect. I think I've worked with Christine before. I think.
Could be. There you go. Yeah. So, yeah, I thought it was kind of good to break in the code. And I know, folks, it's not as exciting as maybe our usual shows that we're taking the blood and gore of the painful questions off our Facebook page, because they do come in for sure. But it's just kind of interesting to see the thought process behind how the TDO, the Tenancy Dispute Officer, lays out their hearing, their judgments and analysis, and how they come to a conclusion. So, yeah, so I thought it was good. Let's wrap up the show. I think there's not too much else going on. I've got kids wandering in my house somewhere, probably in food in the closet or something, doing something right now. So, or in the pantry. But yeah, I'll end on a positive note. Go Flames, go! Playing through some adversity. Don't tell me the stats are coming back from a 3-1 deficit. I don't want to know, because my team will do it. So I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow. And yeah, folks, thanks for joining out. As Don mentioned, you can find them over at EdmontonEvictionServices.ca. If you guys haven't already done so, I highly recommend coming over to the Alberta Landlord Community.ca. It's kind of our future home as we kind of progress from Facebook. It's got way more tools and functions. Here's our live show. There's an event calendar. We've got topics, which I think are super powerful. I can put a bunch of information underneath there. And I'm working on courses, and coming big announcement for this summer, an actual, it's going to be a paid membership with every tool in the toolbox that a landlord needs, including this fine gentleman, Don, signed on to help out, and eviction services and all the such, education, the whole 9 yards. It's going to be pretty cool. So stay tuned for that announcement. All right.
Perfect.
Other than that, let's enter, Don. Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Folks are markers on the walls. That's probably exactly what's going on in my house right now. So when the 2-year-olds walk around at 8:50 and I'm on a live stream, nothing's getting done right now. So all right, let's sign off. Let's have a good night, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. My name's MacKenzie Wilson. I used to say the only show dedicated to landlording, the only talk show for landlording, but I think there's a few others now on the internet. So I'm going to say the best or the original. I don't know. We have a good following. So thanks, Don, for sponsoring and always being a part of the community. We appreciate it.
Yay, Oilers!
All right. Good night.